Dang it. All right, let's start per usual with good things and gratefuls, bucket fills, fun things. I know there's really good things that are happening right now, so you could either just volunteer those things or I might just call on you.
You can call on me. I would like to bucket fill Derek because he, again, came to one of my clients' houses when they thought they wanted to work with an investor and took time to care about them. And it was a super hard house to walk through, literally, because it's a bit of a hoarder house.
Derek loves those.
Yeah. But he walked through with grace and
Blinders.
no, that was the good part. There was no blindness. There was authenticity and honesty, and that's what they needed. So
Love it.
Happy to do it.
thank you.
Derek.
Got cobwebs in her hair and everything.
Yes, yes, I think we both got a little cobwebby. And Derek's so gracious. He's like, I think I have a cobweb.
Inside, I'm like,
Big old.
Web and spider.
Did Derek just get bucket filled?
He did.
I'll bucket fill Derek again. He usually knows a person. Something goes wrong and he's usually got a person. I need it.
I got a guy. I got a
I
guy.
didn't even say a guy. I said a person.
Yeah, sorry. I got a gal.
Guy in Midwestern, like, you know,
Guy.
guys.
So, I got a guy.
Hey, I text him anything. Hey, Derek, I see you put in a new garage door. Do you know someone? Yeah, here's a guy.
Love it.
thank you.
What else? What else is good?
I want to thank the farmers for letting us do their open house last weekend. We had a lot of people through and it was a lot of fun and we're knocking everything.
So we're knocking thing.
It was great. It was a great opportunity. So I'm grateful for that.
And where are you this weekend?
This weekend, we are doing one for Derek and she has
Yay, thank you, Derek.
to Derek again.
No more.
Derek.
No more.
You are Taylor.
I just leave.
He's just gonna call him Taylor again.
We should bucket fill Brahma too. Brahma came into our impact this morning with a
Yes.
couple questions we had. So
I wasn't there and you showed up. Was that why?
I was
No.
walking by and they yelled at me. So
Yeah. We said Brahma knows Prior Lake. He could help us. And he did. And he gave his time.
very helpful.
Thank
And
you.
she took your advice and called the seller immediately.
good.
And yeah, I mean,
Good.
everything you said, she used just basically, it was great. So
Awesome.
Amy was-
Awesome. What else? There's other things. What else is good?
I'm thankful for good open houses and renters that want to buy.
I thought you were grateful for your birthday.
Oh, yeah. Tell us about that. I was born 2 minutes ago, so.
Oh, my
So
God.
now you're officially
30 years and 2 minutes.
Who else knows what minute they were born?
No idea.
I think it was like my mom tells me, but I just kind of forget to like listen. It's a big deal to her.
My mom's always like 11:04.
Okay, Mom.
It also helped that I have a twin sister, and so she was born at 10:59.
Oh, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
No.
About her.
Fine.
I get it.
Okay.
Just-
Never knew
What
that.
do you want to know?
You like this is for a whole nother conversation. Happy birthday to her too. She's had a baby, didn't she?
Uncle Mel.
I didn't know they were twins. Like I knew there was a sister. I just didn't know that they were twins.
Twins.
Awesome. Awesome. All right, what else?
I wanted to share this one. On the 21st of this month, I looked at my checking account. I'm like, what in the world? I had $1,745 there that I didn't expect. And it was profit share check.
Yeah, it was a nice one.
Awesome. Great.
I want to bucket fill Emily. She wrote an offer yesterday morning and it had it accepted like minutes later. And yeah,
Wow,
She's
that
been on
doesn't
it
happen
there.
often.
yeah.
Like,
And it came out of the sphere group that we're really trying to push on and, or make a push. And, it was good to have it come to fruition. So
awesome. Super awesome. All right, who else? Who else has something? Anybody on Zoom? I'd love to
I have
hear your
another one.
voices. Colleen has another one.
I would like to thank Derek I would like to thank Kevin for answering the
Yeah.
because he is our broker and I called him with like a and he had a blah, 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 blah. So it was really helpful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll also bucket Bill Kevin for keeping us out of trouble, so, yeah.
Not a realtor.
Look at you. He's like, yeah, it's me. All right, moving on. So August training calendar, we only have, Impact is coming to an end. So now we're getting back to our regular scheduled trainings. And we have some really cool ones. So on the 3rd, we have Leadership Academy. Remind me of the date or the time on that.
It'll go out on the Facebook.
Oh, here it is. This is Leadership Academy. So that's also going to be here and it's in person only. So if you are not able to, or it's not on your calendar, put it on there because you won't be able to be in your car running to a showing via Zoom. Candy.
I also just say, if you want to be a part of this, they already had a lot of people are gonna sign up. So if you want to be on it, like after it goes out today, get in there, sign up, don't wait till like a week before, because it's gonna be probably, so. Get on it.
Awesome. Then we've got ironclad negotiations on the 8th. And it's the art of inspection, which I think amendments, which I think is huge right now because a lot of people that got into the business less than 5 years ago, there was not a lot of negotiations on inspections because we didn't even have inspections for some time. So I think it's one where if you have not been in the business for more than 5 years, or if you have and you just kind of forgot, there have been, and you might be able to speak to this, I mean, different inspection things that have been coming up and the negotiations that have kind of cut deals off at that point where I think there's another way to approach it. And we've got some really great panelists to kind of talk about that. Any questions regarding that one?
That's on the 8th.
That one's on the 8th. Yep. Then we've got our team meeting and our block party. Collective meeting is next week. And then build a team, join a team, or stay a solo agent with Graham Smith. I know that that's in the Lakes office. We are going to be gone from the 14th to the 16th for Mega Camp. And right after that on the 17th, we are going to be having a kind of a ahas from Mega Camp. Go ahead.
Just highlight the collective meeting that's happening next week for the team meeting. It's happening at the Dyna office, and we're bringing in Dave McGee for the whole collective spot. We, as a couple of the brokers, got together, put some questions that we'd like him to address right up front. But then there will be a time where you guys can ask him any of the questions. He is $500 an hour to ask a question to. So he is the lawyer that the collective, he's the collective.
Talk about this in the budget for all the
What's
market
that?
centers. No, just kidding.
So he's the collective's lawyer, right? So he's not necessarily the person you'll always call or whatever, but as the collective, our brokers, that he's our attorney. And he's really, really good. And so if there are some questions that you have around different things, or how my takeaway last time was one, always on your email, put, hey, if you have any questions or concerns about what's typed here, please reach out, because then it shows, hey, I sent this. Another thing is, he said, and I'm sure he'll talk about it this time as well, is what can you say about arbitration, and what can you not say about arbitration? So that's one of those things, but that might be, it might be a great spot to say, hey, is there any inspection language that should go at the top before we make any requests that is always there? And some of those kind of things that you might just have questions about, I think he's just going to be really, 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 really good. And he is really good, and he's expensive, and it's a good opportunity. So with that said, it's at Edina Market Center.
And it was just remodeled, so it'd be great to give them some love to go see their new space.
And when is that?
It's
It's next Wednesday.
during
Not-
normal team meeting
not
time.
the second.
It's during normal team meeting time. And if you're gonna ask questions, it's gonna be hard to do that via Zoom and different things, so get there. As much as I encourage you to go somewhere, I would encourage you to be at that one on
And there's
Wednesday.
ample parking, so when you guys ask about different market centers, there's ample parking.
That's the
Yeah,
easiest
that
one for us
is
to get
really
to.
great. Yeah. All right, also, it's not too late to sign up for Mega Camp. We've got some great people and, potentially some guests that may be going. Then we have how to set goals with Jake Lures, Mega Agent interview, our team meeting, and then business checkup from the neck up from yours truly that will be teaching that. And it's essentially going to be prepping you for business planning in September. So it'll be kind of a refresh on where you are tracking right now for the year, what you can be looking at, what numbers you have to bring to business planning. So a really good one for you to go to on that. Matrix MLX, to the max. So Steve is actually a Maple Grove Keller agent, but he's going to go through some really great things that you can utilize on the MLS. And then we have our collective team meeting again on the 30th. And then we have collective state fair day. So all the market centers are going to show up at the state fair. We're going to have a meeting time and a meeting place. That'll be super fun just to kind of have a event together. You can disperse as you'd like, but also just come and say hi. So we know who's all there. Any questions?
I do one more broker thing.
No.
It's just really quick.
Fine. Just kidding.
Forms change in August. So there are a couple forms that are changing. One has to do with the written statement versus whatever. And one of the things that they're versus the
I was like, versus whatever.
versus the first two statements. And there's confusion. And oftentimes people are checking both boxes. How does that work? They're putting some clarity around the or. It's this or that. So that will be one of the differences. There's a link when you go and register. There's a link that talks right about it on your change forms. You can watch that YouTube video. I'll also do something to make sure we go to like a training control, but they're not very intense. Just the forms will be different and go.
I have a quick question though. Both of those statements are very different. One is if it's not provided, one is if it's correct. I mean,
Yeah,
those
so
two
the
statements
first-
is not an and or an or. I thought that they were two different situations.
They are. That's why it's this or this, not an and.
Got it.
Or this, not
Got
an.
it.
Last year we had CE for that. A TC group was able to go through all of the changes on the forms. There's like 11 changes this time, right? 11 forms that are changing.
Yeah, and some of that's because commercial and residential, same form, just in different. Yeah.
I was gonna say on the, and I can put this on our Facebook group and email it out today, but on Mars website, they don't have the CE, there's still, it's pending that you can get CE for it, but it's $15 to do the form class. It's 1 hour. I wanna say it's on the 8th or 9th of August, but I'll put it out today. The CE hasn't been approved yet, but it's 1 hour, it's $15 to just go and learn about the form. So it's an hour worth.
Or there's a 5-minute YouTube video if you're more like me and just want to know.
Yeah.
And so that's right.
Their thoughts and every personality.
We'll find you too.
Option. All right. Okay, so I didn't know everyone was so excited about this last week, but the MREA Book Club is going to be starting next Wednesday. So these dates are the pages that you'll be reading during those dates. And then the topic in those pages is going to be on the Wednesday after that. So if you've noticed, August 8th is a Tuesday, August 9th, we're going to be talking about those topics. So if you would like to be kind of up to date and know what we're chatting about, make sure you read those pages or at least skim through them if you are more like Derek. So you kind of be in the know because there will be a section of every team meeting that has to do with the MREA. Any questions around that?
Are you gonna mail that out too?
Yes.
We have to take a picture.
Yes, we are.
And it'll be on the.
And as it gets closer and closer, I will also probably have an outline of what we'll be talking about each week, so that you kind of get an idea.
If anyone needs the book, we have them available.
Oh, this is you. This is you. This is Candy. This is Candy's.
So, yeah, I just wanted to take a minute too to talk in the meeting because we often.
Come up here. Come up here.
You're on camera too.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so oftentimes we have agents and they'll say, oh, so-and-so I talked to and they want to become an agent. And then what do we do with that, right? So I thought it'd be nice for you guys to know, yes, Keller Williams has like a great program for people that are interested in also becoming real estate agents. So the process for us really, if they are not an agent currently and they want information on the licensing process and then the programs that Keller Williams has to offer, those names and numbers can come to me. Because I walk them through something that we have called KW Prep. There's a whole timeline that goes with that, that I walk the person through. I share the information with them. I talk with them about the licensing process, expectations, Keller Williams in general. So anybody you chat with, you can send me their email and their phone number. Those are two pieces of information that I do need to reach out to them. And I'm happy to go over it. So if you're just like, oh, I don't know what to talk about, you don't really have to say much. You can be like, hey, you can talk to Candy in my office and she can give you that information. If they come to me, if you just give them my information, that also works, but let them know to say like who it comes from, because this is also a great way to create, help with your like downline and with profit share. So Kevin shared today that he like had a big check. And so that's because people in our market center who bring talent into our market center, when our market center is profitable, when that person is profitable, then you get a piece of that profit. And so it's a great opportunity for you to grow that passive income for yourself as well, through doing that. So definitely let me know if you're sending me somebody or if they come like say, oh yeah, Chris told me to call you. So I know when they do sign up with KW to remind them who brought them to KW. They name you as their sponsor. If on the flip side of that, if you're talking to another agent who's great and you've had awesome communication with, and you're like, they would be so good at KW, that would be a good person for Kami to talk to. So if they're already in production, not going to talk to them about the licensing process, then have them talk with Kami in our office.
And we have a really cool thing that we're going to create, our little business cards, so that if you're at a restaurant, or a lot of times people will be somewhere that will just have a QR code that they can, scan and do a Google sheet of their information so that it goes right to Candy, and it'll say who referred them as well. So if you're sitting there and the server's like, oh, I thought about real estate, just give them one of those cards, and if maybe you only have one of them, and they can scan the card or give it to them, so that we can get them started on their license. Questions?
So I can think of like when I transitioned from a job where I got paid to going, okay, I want to do something different. And one of the barriers was that $1,000 course, even if I didn't know what I was going to do. Is there anything that by referring them to you helps with that?
So KW.
Great
does-
question, Kevin.
KW does help with the cost of the licensing coursework. They do cover most of the cost of the online on-demand package, which is how most people want to take those classes nowadays, because then they can schedule it around their current work schedule. But they don't cover like some tests and that type of thing, but they do cover the bulk of the licensing package.
And we do not use the word free.
It
We
covers.
use a discount code that it makes it more complimentary to take these classes.
We actually shifted it over to like a scholarship, because then it's something that we can.
So DOC says in Minnesota, you cannot, real estate companies cannot be associated with schools, can't pay for schools. If you're not in Minnesota, you go to something called KW School, and you can take advantage of that. You can't in Minnesota. So instead you get this code. The awesome thing about it is just by going, and I would say even more aggressively than Candy said. If you say to someone, hey.
You can get in trouble because you're a broker.
I'm not saying the bad. Hey, you want to get in school? I'm going to put you and Candy on the same message and do an introduction. That's better, right? And then to say, hey, there are some options there that she might be able to help you reduce some costs of your upfront stuff, right? It's awesome. It is a great barrier. Some of us have taken advantage of it to use that KW school in other states to get different licenses in different places. So it's an awesome thing to do. It's really good. It's an awesome value to people. That was one of those barriers.
It's also a huge advantage if you know someone that's really talented that you want to potentially join your team. Where you can get them their schooling complimentary on a scholarship. where other places do not do that.
And Kevin brought up another good point. If for some reason you're also looking to be licensed in another state, please come talk to me because I can connect you with the person who is me in that other state so that they can give you their scholarship information and you can take advantage of that as well. So.
Awesome. Any other questions? Thank you, Candy. All right, so I wanted to talk about some stats today because I think that we're all feeling something different, right? And feelings are very different than the actual statistics. And if you guys want to talk about different cities, awesome, we can do that too. These are the ones that I pulled, right? So I think Shane was actually going to come in here. I don't know what numbers he pulled up, but it was just talking about average sales price. So when you take a look at this, what do you see? This is over a 10-year period of time. Okay, so when we're like, oh, everything's just shooting up, it's this huge trajectory of shooting up. Is it? And again, this is very city specific, right? So this isn't like metro area. What if you guess this is what it looks like for average sales price in these cities?
Like 3 cities are. On the
So
Now.
red is Wayzata, purple is Plymouth, Minnetonka is green, and Orono is blue.
Orono's a hot mess. Orono's a hot mess.
There's not many houses in Orno.
Because it's further out.
Okay, either way, right? But it's further out. There's not many houses in Orono, but what's going on there right now? There are more and more houses. When we're talking about what is the kind of windshield kind of marker is new construction, right? So where's new construction happening right now? Everywhere, but there's a lot of new construction in Orono. Am I wrong on that? I don't sell in Orono. I just am looking at the stats, right? So if you were to show this to a seller, what would you say? Because when you're looking at average sales price and it's a seller's market, it hasn't been a seller's market for 10 years.
Orno also has the most Lake Minnetonka Lakeshore, I think.
Okay, good to know. I did not know that. But like, what happened here?
What is that? Yeah, what is?
This is 2021, January 2021.
Couldn't get any building supplies.
I think part of it is how many houses are on the market on that spot. And if an Orono builds a $10 million house, it's going to, shoot that number. And if they don't put that $10 million house on there, you can see it's just a short term.
Yeah.
And I think that's why one of the things you want to look at is if I'm having this,
Trend line.
I'm looking at my trend line. And going,
Yeah.
hey, see the growth in the trend line is probably higher in Orono than the other 3.
Oh, it has to be, right? I mean, that's a pretty high trajectory, even with that trend. These are kind of what it looks like, trend line or not, it's pretty stable across these 3. Would we agree with that?
It's also interesting, like just for this moment, how all the other 3 are slowly dipping down and that one's like going back, jumping back up.
Okay, so moving forward when you're talking about what's on the market. So this is over the last 10 years. Next slide. So this is average days on market just from 2022 to 2023. Okay, because days on market, again, we have been thinking for a long time are like 7 days on market essentially for 3 years, maybe max 14. This was also interesting, and this goes month by month.
But that has new construction.
Yes, that does have new construction in it. Yeah.
What month is it where all of them peak up there? Do we know what that is?
That is.
That-
Start
This is
of,
probably May of this year. No, February of this year.
yeah, probably February, yeah.
Because this is maybe it's even January.
Those
So
were,
this was like, because this goes up. This is January, right? January, February, March, April, May, June. So that's January.
Which means that the inventory sat from Thanksgiving to Christmas and then at the new year it all sold,
Okay, so go to the next slide.
maybe.
Here's January for new listings. Here's December for new listings. Do we look at these before we go on listing appointments? Because I think what we say is across the board, right? This is what the market's doing. Can you imagine taking a listing in Plymouth, right? Man, listings are really up there. What? Listings have been pretty consistent. New listings each month. Okay, but what you're using is Twin Cities data. Correct? Do people look at Twin Cities when they're searching for a house as a buyer? Or do they look for Plymouth, Wayzata, Minnetonka? I'm looking in Minneapolis. I'm looking in St. Louis Park. You guys, the reason I'm going over this and I'm seeing faces looking at this data like you've never seen this before. Right? I mean, am I right on that? Who looks at this? Like, who- literally, who looks at this? Online can also share. I think it's important because we're assuming a lot of things about the market and we're the professionals. Right? So when we're going to a listing appointment or we're going to a buyer's appointment, we're saying things about the market that may not be true because we're also using the media to tell the story of what the market's really doing. Is that fair?
I never tell my clients to listen to the news.
Well, who do they listen to then? This is what they should listen to, but if you don't know these numbers, why should they listen to you? Right? How many times a week do you guys look at these numbers? Just shout it out. Twice. You look at, how many of you look at it per the city that you're listing the house in before you go on the listing appointment? Okay. What numbers do you think are valuable in that setting?
Always like the shows, like under contract or pending.
Okay. Let's just shout them out. So if we're on a, what are the values or the information you need on a listing appointment if you were to look at info sparks? So pending contracts.
Like how many showings went through to get it to pending.
How
Okay.
many new listings? How many other listings?
Days on market help set expectations.
And percentage of sale price? Yeah. Showings for price point? What about just price comparison? Like for the list price or no?
That wouldn't be on that.
Not on this.
Okay. What else? Anything else?
How many are currently on the market?
Okay. So when you say, showing per price point, are you doing that via InfoSparks or are you doing that via showing time? You're doing it via showing time? And are you doing that price point and are you doing that via area code or are you doing it city? How are you doing that? Because that makes a difference. Does everybody know what I'm talking about?
No, I'm sorry, what is number 6?
Number 6 is actives.
Number of actives.
Okay, so when you're doing showings, you're doing it for price point. And what do you do for price point? If you're gonna is that a $25,000 increments? Is it $10,000 increments?
You have to set a location first, right? And then.
Okay, so that was, you guys were chatting. So do you do it via city or do you do it via zip code? Because sometimes zip codes go over city, right? Like you do city,
I think it depends.
okay?
Yeah.
What about
Could be
school
city,
districts?
could be zip code, could be school district.
School district,
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
That a school district matters.
okay. Why does this matter?
That expectation,
About what?
what everybody should expect for how active their listing is going to be.
Okay, so expectations for how many showings they're probably gonna get, right? So if the week prior to there were 10 showings and there were 5 listings, expect 2 showings in the first week.
Yeah, and the expectations, if you don't see this, we probably are priced incorrectly.
Okay? What else? What else does this do?
Helps with pricing strategy, so you can say, where are the eyeballs?
Okay, so, let's say we have a $350,000 price point, right? And they really want to list at 350. So you look at 350, 325, and 299. Fair? This one had 2 showings. This one had 4 showings. This one had 18 showings, 1 listing. This one had 4 showings, 2 listings, and 1 listing. What would the conversation look like with your seller about pricing strategy in this? Anybody? Maureen?
I always tell people at my listing appointments that the pricing is what drives traffic. It's not what drives what you end up closing at, that the pricing is always what drives traffic.
So pricing drives traffic. What would drive traffic and pricing on this?
I think I would look at smaller increments between there, because $50,000 is a big gap for you to
So
change.
sometimes it doesn't actually let you go to 10,000. On like the target market analysis report. Sometimes it'll like, depending on the price point. Have you ever, like?
Not in the $300,000
Probably
range.
not. Okay. So what is the percentage of lists to offer if you listed at 300 and they put it like $25,000 over? What is that percentage over list price? Someone do that math. I don't know.
Yes.
5%. I don't know. What is it? 10%, 8%? 8%? Okay, so this would be 8%. If you got an offer at this is 8% over list price if you listed it at 300,000. Anybody know what the average over list price offer is right now? Okay, depends on where you are. Where, let's say you're in, where do you know?
It was at 100.
It's just straight at offer price is the, nobody's going, or at list price, so it's not going over, okay? Anybody else? Last time I checked, Minneapolis is where I used to, so I lived there, I looked there, right? It can go anywhere from 7% over to 18% over, depending on the price point of the house. So would it be feasible to say if you priced it at 300,000, a great strategy is you're most likely going to at least get 8% over list price. And now you have 18 showings versus 4, right? Vice versa. You could do 325 and you're probably it's probably like 7% over at that point. But let's list it at 325 and we're still getting, same amount of showings. Well, why don't we just shoot for 350? What would you say in that situation?
Hopefully the one person takes a look at it, feels the same way about your price.
Which is a fair thing. That's not even, that's a direct thing to say, right? Are we having these conversations? I'm gonna say no, because a lot of you just stared at me when I asked you what people are bidding over list price. Like, it's okay. This is the reason I'm doing this is it's a no judgment zone. Why I'm doing it is because we should be having these conversations. We should be having the conversations of not just your neighbor next door sold for 350,000 and it has a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and yours has a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and their kitchen is done and your kitchen is done. Because anyone that looks at Zillow and has any common sense can say the exact same thing, you guys. So when we want to add value to our clients, we need to know statistics. Why is the real estate exam mathematics? Right? Like we need to know stats. Like everyone's like, oh, I don't ever do statistics in real estate. That's because you're not actually doing the job sometimes that you're supposed to be doing. I might not be nice right now, but I'm like, if we want to take market share and set ourselves apart, this is what you're going to have to do in this market. Is you're going to have to prove your value. You're going to have to prove why someone chooses you, because you know exactly what is selling in Plymouth, what new listings are coming on, and what people are offering over list price, so that when you price, you're getting the most exposure and the buyers that are going to come in and offer on your property, and you're going to get the most for your client. Is that fair? Maureen?
I was just gonna say, because there are agents that are getting listings based on the seller being emotionally attached to a certain amount they have in their head. And they, you know, they could have 3 listing appointments and like every single agent that walked in the door, but they want to go with the one that had the number that they had in their head, even if you know that if you priced it lower, you would get more traffic, you know, so you've got to prove to them.
Well, my question is, what are you attached to in that price point, right? Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm just curious. It seems like you're really attached to 350. What's important about 350? What are they going to say? I'm going to make the most money there. My net is most important. Awesome. And that's why this pricing strategy is what we need to do to get you the most amount of money for your net. Because they're not actually attached to this number. Maybe like one of them is ego-wise because their neighbor sold from that, and then they're gonna be like, I can't believe you listed that low. Cool, well, let's talk after I sell it, because it's gonna sell for 355. Right? But they're not actually attached, they don't know why they're attached to this number. Would you guys agree with that? Okay, what else are we seeing? Okay, price reduction. So you're having the same conversation, same tool. When we're talking about why, what do you use this for? Seller is attached to 350. So it's like, you know what, we're gonna do this. The one person that saw this, or the 2 people that saw this, they don't want it. Right? And it only showed up in the 350 search. What would it look like when you have the conversation, man, I know we've only gotten 2 showings, but look at this, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. At 300 or 299, they've gotten 18 showings on one property. Is that kind of exposure something that you'd want on your property? Well, yeah. That's a lot easier conversation of a price improvement to prove why you should be there than, well, you know what, we just overpriced your house and your house just isn't worth it. Who's having price reductions right now? You guys are? You guys are? So what does it look like? How do you get those? What's the conversation, right? Because this is new. No one had price reductions. You weren't sitting for 2-3 weeks on the market. What does that look like when you're having those conversations?
We had a conversation before we even listed them.
Okay, so you're prepping them. Okay,
Because they wanted that certain price, so then you had that conversation, or just because you thought the market might do that?
Yeah, based on the comp, we felt good about our price, but we said like, we have a strict policy, like if it's 10 days on the market or less than 10 showings, we're usually off that 5%. So we have 10-10-5 rule. And then we had that conversation in the listing appointment prior to, or after, but before putting them on the market, that if we're here at these price or at these deadlines, this is what we're gonna do, and they agreed to it.
okay. Right, you said you guys are having that the conversation as well.
We just talk to people and say, there's two things that we can control and with the listing, and that is price and condition. And when you look at the feedback, and the amount of showings that we've had, so first of all, you had enough people come through the house and they're, responding back saying that that the condition is fantastic. They really like the house, but they're not buying. So there's only one thing left, which is the price.
So Rick, man, we've only had one showing though. So I mean, are you doing your job? I mean, because I feel like other people are having a lot of showing on their houses. And I mean, I'm just hearing 6, 10 showings in a week and we've had one. So I feel like it's not marketed properly.
Well, that's where you have to know the numbers ahead of time. Those
But
numbers.
is that a real conversation that people will say? Like, am I off on that? Or is it like, people are like, I'm hearing all these like multiple offers and so many showings and we've only had one.
Well, and that's what. for
That's
us,
a great
if-
point.
If we're on the market for 2 or 3 weeks, for example, and there's no showings or there's 2 showings, that's when we start to do the research and say, okay, what does everything else look like here? What's happening with the other houses in this price range in this community? And if we find out that they're also, they're not experiencing a lot of showings, then we can at least let them know, hey, this is what's actually happening out there for people. Sometimes we'll call other agents to just see sort of what sort of activity they're getting, and try to align with them.
Awesome. Clean.
I've also learned that it's kind of like fish stories. I sold my house in one day for 100,000 over asking. And they tell the story over and over and over. It started at 5,000 over, now it's 100,000 over.
Like the fish was this big, but it was really
Right.
this big.
Yeah. So it can be a fish story. It's also like appraisals. Appraisals are historic information. They're not current because they're at least 30 to 45 days old, usually much longer than that. And so what your neighbor is telling you or what your family member is telling you may not apply to your specific situation. I mean, if you're selling a condo and it doesn't have a garage, that's different than the guy down the block who has a garage, even if your condos look very similar. And so I think helping people to see apples to apples matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Who knows how to utilize this? Who needs help utilizing this?
I would love a class to go back over it because
Okay.
I know what I do, but I don't know if that's like the old way of doing it.
Okay, so that's fair. Who else utilizes showing time and their showings? Okay, a few people.
I would think info to my buyers, because they're like, we just think it's too expensive. And well, the area and the school district that you want, kind of like luxury.
Yep. So quick question. What would it look like if you utilized this information? So this is not like a real stat. I just made this number up. But what would it look like if you took this, went onto Canva and said, Plymouth had 18 showings at the price point of $299 to $220 for $324 with one listing. Because what are we looking for? What are we looking for right now? What is the challenge for everybody in the market? Lack of listing. Okay, that's all people hear. What do they need to hear?
A lot of buyers looking.
There are a lot of buyers looking in that price point. And then what if you say, oh, okay, great. Mr. and Mrs. Seller are freaked out to actually sell because they need to buy somewhere. What if where they were buying was this, right? Let's say that's 550 or whatever it is, move up, move down, whatever it is. And there's only, 2 showings in that area, but there's a ton of listings. What I'm trying to say is you can't generalize anything for anybody right now. What you can do is get the information that is going to make them educated enough to make a decision, right? Because right here, if I was going to say I'm someone that sells in Plymouth, it's the lowest one right now on new listings across the board, time after time after time. Right? Is this giving opportunity to find new listings in this area? Flip side, we've got Wyzetta, which is very confused with life and their listings. Right? I mean, it's like up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, but why, right? So is it the connection piece? Is it why is this? Like, figure this out and market to it. We talk about farming all the time and we think of like, it's our neighborhood. Farm a city. Take your Instagram and farm a city. Do it widespread, but be the person that knows exactly what is going on there at all times. Farm 3 cities, farm 5 cities. There's 5 days in the week. And then the other days, talk about your open houses. There's opportunity here for anybody to look this information up. You can be brand new or you can be seasoned. But this is information that people can find value in. And it's going to educate them versus, you know what? Plymouth isn't the same as Minneapolis. Right? It's not the same, obviously, as Orono. If we go back to that list, Orono is all over the board. When someone asks you what the average sales price for Orono is, what would you say?
Depends on the lake shore.
It depends on the month, quite honestly, because if you got a $20 million listing or a $10 million listing or just a few $2 million listings. If someone says, hey, I wanted to live out in Orono and I got a $400,000 budget, what are you going to say?
Not gonna help.
Condo? We can do that. You know, pack up your tent, let's go buy some land. I mean, reality, right? Like,
You probably can do that, so I would then narrow my search and look at what is for sale in Orono for 400,000.
yeah,
So I would, you need more information is what I would say.
correct. Is this helpful? I hear a lot of people saying, I don't know what to post. I don't know who to call. I don't know what to do. Can I be really blunt? It's because you don't know the information, because you're not learning it on your own. And there are a lot of resources for it. Okay, so when you're sitting there like, I don't know what to do, go hang out on InfoSparks. Go educate yourself. It's not just CE times that we're educating ourselves, which happens. It's every single day and the market changes, obviously on a monthly basis. If you're seeing this, there's nothing that is static with anything in real estate. Listings aren't, sales price really isn't. So if we're only looking at this, like when I pull it up, that's probably not a good gauge of being the local economist.
I just want to point out that we also use this information on buy side. So when we're submitting offers and we're negotiating, we use that same showing per listing to know, to educate our buyers on where we actually need to put an offer in at. And if there's one listing and there's 4 showings and the showing agent or the listing agent says they've had lots of showings and lots of offers, we know they're lying.
Okay, so how many times as a listing agent, someone calls and they're like, yeah, well, how's the traffic? Like, how many guys? Oh, we've got it's so busy. I mean, they don't say the actual number, so they're not completely lying, maybe. So they have like gray area. But how many times does that happen? Oh, we got 6 showings today. Oh, that's interesting because there's only 2 in the last week. I mean, don't call them up and like call them a lie or anything. But like they have to put it through showing time, right? So if it is not on there, they did not have 6 showings in one day. So unless they all came through the open house, which that could be too, right? So don't discount that piece of it. There's probably no way that they had 10 offers sight unseen. It's a great point. Anything else? All right, let's go into wants and needs then. What do we got? New listings, buyers?
I've got a listing coming up. We're probably gonna go live on the 4th. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Crystal, 340, South Crystal. Beautiful backyard, big garden.
South.
South Crystal.
Okay, what else?
I'm working with a set of buyers and they're looking for something in the Minnetonka School District. They're looking for something kind of particular. Their price range is anywhere from 700 to $2 million. If it was on the upper end, it would be like been ready. They wouldn't have to change like a thing, but they're looking for a little bit of like a nice yard. Maybe like less than an acre or maybe more than an acre. But they just want something that's like 5,000 square feet or less.
In what area?
In Hawk School District.
Oh,
Anybody else?
Well, we have hot dogs coming up in a few minutes from being grilled downstairs. We're eating them inside because it's a little warm outside.
Oh, okay, perfect. Stick around for some lunch. Anything on Zoom you guys want to share? No? Awesome. Have a great day, guys. And then any other wants and needs, send to Lydia and she will send them out at the end of business day. Have a good one.
Lunch will be up in just a minute.